How do you put an end to ethnic hatred? Imagine if we could stop it once and for all. In case after case, it can be traced back over generations, centuries, even millennia. The Irish and English, for example, the Greeks and Turks, the Serbs and the Croatians. In each instance, hatred, then violence, then the need for revenge poisons one generation after another. Few, if any, cases can compare with what Jews suffered at the hands of Nazi Germany. But tonight, from that legacy, an example of how the cycle can be broken.
On the edge of the Black Forest, in the tiny town of Neuenburg, Germany, a small group of Germans and Americans begin an extraordinary meeting. They have come here as opposite sides from one of history's darkest hours. Adolf Hitler, the Third Reich, the final solution. 6 million Jews exterminated in Nazi concentration camps. When it was over, survivors of the Holocaust would live with unbearable memories. The German people would enter their own painful period of silence and shame. And it would all be passed on to their children. Helga, the daughter of a Gestapo chief.
It's a very dark side of my life, of our family's life, and you don't, in my family you don't talk about this.
Anna, the daughter of death camp survivors.
I've spent most of my life with the Holocaust. I've slept with it and ate with it, lived with it, breathed with it. I don't want to do it anymore.
They came from Boston and Berlin, Hartford and Munich, children of Nazis and children of Holocaust survivors. For 4 days, in this room, they would meet, 8 hours a day, not to confront or forgive, but to help each other with the painful legacies they've all inherited.
I've never been in the Holocaust. No one's ever persecuted me directly. That's what makes it so difficult for me, is that I've lived with their experience. It did happen. They have numbers on their arms to prove it.
I've grown up so much feeling that my father was an animal and that I come from a people of monsters, and it's not true. We're human beings. German people are human beings.
For the children of survivors raised on horror stories about Nazis, it was a little frightening just to be on German soil and to hear the German language.
Die Größe, das zu hören, wenn Sie kommen.
Especially at a time when neo-Nazis are on the rise here, reviving the symbols and slogans of the Third Reich.
I still have a hard time believing that I'm here in Germany, and just to hear that echo.
But what Alan Berkowitz of Hartford, Connecticut encountered here, no one was quite prepared for. Alan's father was among the thousands of Jews herded into the Lida ghetto in Nazi-occupied White Russia at the height of Hitler's extermination campaign.
They were taking people out to pits and putting bullets in their heads. I mean, you know, the biggest concern then was not wasting ammunition on Jews, so they would try to do things like put 2 Jews together and kill them with the same bullet.
His father escaped just before the Lida ghetto was liquidated. What Alan found out at the conference is that the man his father was running from was Helga's father.
He was chief of Gestapo in White Russia and was responsible for 1942 and 1943. He was responsible for all liquidations of the Jews.
Helga's father was not only responsible for giving the orders to liquidate the Lida ghetto, he was an active participant.
What was your reaction when you found out who her father was?
I just got really emotional, and it was at that moment I needed to make a decision. Do I hate Helga for what her father had done, or do I make the distinction in my mind of separation of what her father had done and Helga?
So what we should do is then
making that distinction, separating their experience from that of their parents, according to the conference organizers, is a critical step in ending a cycle of anger and guilt. Mona Weissmark teaches psychology at Harvard and the University of Connecticut. Her parents are both death camp survivors. Ilona Kufal is a businesswoman whose father was a Nazi officer.
Both sets of children had this tremendous sense of needing to rebalance something that happened to their parents. The children of survivors, for example, never felt that justice was done. And the children of Nazis grew up feeling guilty, feeling that they in some way had an obligation.
It's something very heavy that you carry around with you. You know, perhaps we can help each other lift some of that, or live with it in a different way.
The group met under the guidance of Harvard psychiatrist Dan Giacomo.
I'm sitting here betraying my family, and I think I really have to cut it. I cannot go home anymore.
Often intense, draining, and very emotional, they discovered that children of the Third Reich and children of Holocaust survivors have a remarkable amount in common, a need to know more about what their parents went through.
I wish my father could talk to me about it. Because it's so horrible not to know.
A need to understand why the Holocaust happened. And perhaps most striking of all, they all share an uncommon sensitivity to injustice. Many talked about how recent reports of ethnic cleansing in Bosnia stirred incredibly powerful feelings.